The highlight of a stargazer's calendar this year, a super blood moon to be visible in some parts of the world today, a phenomenon that occurs only when a lunar eclipse coincides with the moon, being at its closest point to Earth, a rare celestial treat. We leave you with these visuals as we wrap up this bulletin. Stay tuned. Global News continues on the other side.
A rare treat for stargazers. We're talking about the super blood moon. If you're wondering what makes this lunar event so special, it is the fact that it will be a supermoon, a lunar eclipse and a red blood moon all at once. Let's just briefly explain these lunar events for you. A supermoon occurs when a full moon coincides with the moon's closest point to Earth. A lunar eclipse is what happens when the Earth's shadow covers in part or all of the moon. And a blood moon is the phenomenon whereby the moon in total eclipse appears reddish in color as it is illuminated by sunlight, filtered and refracted by the Earth's atmosphere. And this time we will see all of these celestial events coincide.
A full moon obviously is every month, so every 29 and a half days. A supermoon is somewhere between 2, 3, 4 times a year, so reasonably common. A total lunar eclipse, maybe twice a year. So these all happening at the same time is not incredibly uncommon. In fact, you have to have a full moon in order to have a total lunar eclipse. Those two things always go hand in hand. But to have the supermoon occurring at the same time, that's the thing that tilts it into the slightly unusual part.
The supermoon can be seen across the world, while the blood moon will be seen in parts of western United States and Canada, Mexico, parts of Central and South America, Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific Islands, depending on the weather. Of course, viewing times may vary depending on the location.
These things are common enough and they've been studied well enough and they're all predictable enough that there isn't a huge amount of additional science that can come from these. It is interesting to say that we can actually observe the surface of the moon when it's dark in order to be able to see meteorites landing on its surface, and that's something that we can do whether the phase of the moon allows it or additionally during one of these blood moons as well. So that is something extra that we can do during this time.
The moon will appear to be 14% bigger than normal as it passes through the Earth's shadow. While many would be watching this rare spectacle for a bigger, brighter moon if there are clear skies, some scientists are planning to take an even closer look. And NASA is preparing for just that, its Artemis program, when it plans to land the first woman and the first person of color on the moon's surface.
We can use the moon as a natural control experiment, a laboratory experiment to see the solar system in action. And we're seeing that with the action of water recorded in the lunar polar regions and the history of water in minerals and rocks, the history of the thin crust of the moon, much thinner than we thought back at the time of Apollo. So much more to learn about the moon because we can go there ourselves. We can send our robotic emissaries. And finally, if we can't figure out how to live and work and learn from the moon, how are we going to do Mars? It's thousands of times further. It's harder. It has an atmosphere. It has a relic story of a magnetic field. All these things in a formerly habitable world, that's complicated. The moon is the perfect natural space station, if you will, of Earth to go figure it out.
Bureau Report WION World is One.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.